As we age, our priorities change. In youth, protein is all about building biceps and crushing workouts. But somewhere around midlife, protein takes on a more noble mission, keeping us upright, mobile, and independent while helping us win the lifelong game of don't break a hip. Functional aging, the kind that determines whether you can climb stairs or open a pickle jar at 85, hinges heavily on one deceptively simple thing: muscle. And muscle, in turn, hinges heavily on protein. But the question remains, what kind of protein best supports healthy aging? Your classic steak and eggs, or your chickpeas and mushrooms? The science is finally catching up to this culinary tug-of-war, and the answers, like a good stir-fry, are nuanced. For decades, animal protein has reigned supreme in muscle research, and for good reason. It's dense in all 9 essential amino acids, particularly leucine, which is the amino acid equivalent of flipping the on switch for muscle protein synthesis. Midlife and older adults need more protein to maintain the same amount of muscle they had in their youth, thanks to age-related anabolic resistance, the frustrating reality that our muscles become more stubborn about building themselves up over time. In this context, the high bioavailability and amino acid density of animal proteins like poultry, fish, dairy, and eggs make them powerful allies in fighting sarcopenia, the gradual and dangerous loss of muscle mass with age. Studies consistently show that older adults who consume higher amounts of animal protein, particularly when distributed evenly across the day, have better muscle mass, greater grip strength, and lower risk of disability and falls. One long-term observational study from the Framingham cohort even found that elderly individuals in the highest quintile of animal protein intake had a 40% lower risk of losing mobility over time. Chicken thighs may not seem like anti-aging medicine, but your quadriceps might disagree. However, there's a catch, isn't there always? Not all animal protein comes without baggage. Red and processed meats, while muscle-friendly, often come packaged with saturated fat, heme iron, and inflammatory compounds like advanced glycation and products, AGEs, all of which may contribute to cardiovascular disease and chronic inflammation. The twin gremlins of aging. That's where plant proteins enter the chat. Plant-based protein sources, legumes, soy, nuts, seeds, grains, and yes, even mushrooms, though their protein is modest, have a less efficient amino acid profile, especially when it comes to muscle-building superstars like leucine. But when consumed in sufficient quantities and with complementary combinations, think rice and beans or tofu and quinoa, they can absolutely meet the needs of aging muscles. More importantly, they bring fiber, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory phytochemicals along for the ride. A growing number of studies show that plant-based diets, or even plant-forward diets that include modest amounts of high-quality animal protein, like pescatarian patterns, can protect against muscle loss just as well as meat-heavy diets if total protein intake is adequate. This is the key caveat. Older adults need around 1.0 to 1.2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight per day, more if they're ill or recovering from injury, and it's harder, but not impossible, to hit that number on plants alone. It takes some dietary strategy and probably a deep personal relationship with lentils. Soy, in particular, deserves special mention. Fermented soy products like tempeh and miso contain not only decent protein levels, but also bioactive compounds like isoflavones, which may have bone and muscle-supportive effects in postmenopausal women. Studies out of Asia, where soy is a dietary staple, show lower rates of sarcopenia and better physical function in older populations, though lifestyle and cultural differences play a role here too. It's also worth noting that newer plant-based meat alternatives like pea or mycoprotein-based products are closing the amino acid gap. Some randomized trials have found that muscle protein synthesis rates after consuming these products can rival those of animal protein, though long-term data on muscle maintenance in aging adults is still catching up. So, what does this all boil down to? It's less about choosing meat or mushrooms and more about how much total high-quality protein you're getting and how you space it out across meals. Aging muscles respond best to regular, balanced protein intake, with meals containing at least 25 to 30 grams of protein each. And while animal sources make that goal easier, plant-based diets can absolutely support functional aging with careful planning, variety, and perhaps the occasional assist from fortified foods or protein powders. From a longevity perspective, it may be ideal to aim for a flexitarian model. Lean on plant proteins for their anti-inflammatory and cardiovascular perks, while incorporating high-quality animal proteins like eggs, yogurt, and fish to keep muscles satisfied. That way, you're not just aging, you're aging with mobility, strength, and maybe even enough flexibility to do your own gardening well into your 90s. In short, you don't have to choose sides in the great protein debate. Whether your protein comes from pasture or pulses, the goal is the same. Keep moving, keep eating, and keep feeding the muscles that carry you through life. Because whether it's a tofu stir-fry or a turkey sandwich, what you're really building is your future ability to stand tall, lift groceries, and dance, badly, proudly, and unassisted, well into old age.